And I hope that their first child be a masculine child.
All right. And we are back. Listeners, you can insert any amount of time that took place as you'd like.
We need to have some measurement of your hair, just so we know, since I'm in a baseball cap half the time.
Actually, I was thinking about cutting it. I found a picture of me from 2022 when it was like up to here. And I was like, damn, it looked good that short. I need to maybe cut this thing.
Gee, a pixie cut, man.
Try it out. Kinda. I can send it to you. It was a good picture. I really liked it. I was high as shit in it too. I was like, oh wow, I am so stoned in that picture.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's the thing I say a lot, because after my daughter was born, I cut down on all of the things that aren't good for you. And man, I miss drugs a lot.
Seems most of my guy friends have kids, and they're like, well, yeah, I really had to stop drinking because of my kid, but now I just vape in the garage, and my wife will tell me sometimes, like, Daddy needs to go have his garage time.
So I didn't drink to begin with very much, just because I don't particularly enjoy alcohol. But my friends called me the High Alchemist for a reason. If you can cook it, and if you can add it to food, I was like, well,
it's too different.
Wait a second, my camera, my precious.
He's just about to tell us how he likes to cook drugs. I think Jack may have meant something else.
I like to make edibles. You used to like
cook edibles with drugs, yes.
Why, you Chinese thing? It's not a slur. It was made in China by a Chinese company.
So am I the racist one for assuming? Is that the Jack's like, well, actually, Eric. Or what do you like to say? You're doing that thing again where you don't think you're being offensive, but you're being offensive.
Yeah, you're doing that thing. You're doing that white guy thing again, where you don't realize you're being incredibly offensive and you're just trying to be nice. It's like my grandma used to do. The difference was that she was a 100-year-old Slovak immigrant, and you're a white guy born in the 80s.
Yeah, well, and it's like if there was like a preppier version of that well-meaning redneck meme, but 3/4 of the time I am just doing a bit to wait for you to.
All right, welcome back, Eric, to the hour-ish amount of time where I berate you for being a Caucasian man.
Mm-hmm. Because you are not. Yeah.
I identify as Jack. So however that comes out, sorry, I have things beeping at me on my desk.
Well, we were talking about how I guess I am the suburban version of the well-intentioned redneck meme, but
yes, well, Eric, you're doing that white
Jack,
guy thing again.
My intentions are good. Oh, Jack, please don't let me be misunderstood.
It sounds like you're singing me a love song, which I'm not opposed to, but I'm not sure.
It's the animals, okay, man.
Oh, okay. But no. All right. Eric is never intentionally offensive to me. Only
unless I'm trying to get you riled up, and then I say, yes, I am self-aware.
He says hurtful things like the AI is good and you should use it.
I just said it could benefit you with all your
ChatGPT makes me better at my job. He says such hurtful lies to me.
Lies, yeah.
We are in episode 5, part 2, for our woke French podcast on the history of the French language in America. No, we are talking about.
Français?
No, I do not.
I said I speak a little French,
but I was telling you I don't.
I'd say parles-tu français? No.
No. I can just start typing SQL queries at you, and that's kind of my flex. I tell you what you think about this inner join. It's pretty sick. Anyways, we are here to talk about what we think is good, bad, and otherwise about the current state of masculinity. But if you've seen the title card of the podcast, you would maybe assume that we are kind of annoyed by the current trend within some aspects, the more vocal and algorithm pleasing parts of the internet, the online manosphere crowd, the people who have amazingly good tucks. You wear those tiny little shorts, Andrew Tate, and there's no dick and balls showing. You have to be a drag performer. But yeah,
I like shorts.
Well, yeah, but when he does it, I've seen worse tucks on pro drag performers. Like, this is like, it's like a Ken doll down there. It is amazing.
Is it kind of toxic masculinity to be, making, for all the ways we could criticize him, Jack, if he was born with a small penis, then that is a little unfair, right?
Oh, this is not saying there's a small penis. I'm saying it looks like he has nothing between his legs at all.
Oh.
It's like I'm not. And
I feel like if I was saying this, it would somehow be a problem.
No. It's you could never. But not with Andrew Tate. You could say anything you want about that guy as long as it's not something that would get us in legal trouble. I wouldn't care. But no, and this is not even like I'm complimenting him. I respect his drag game. I just wish he respected his drag game enough to show us who he truly is. That's all.
Like Christy Noem's husband? I haven't
God,
really dug
man,
into that much.
It's got to be so annoying to have that much work done to you and your husband still has more famous tits than you do. It's got to be so annoying.
I mean, he doesn't have a fuck plane, but I don't think she will much longer either. If
she's being sent off, her and Pam Bondi are sent off to the farm up north to go work on the Shield of the Americas, which is apparently where conservative women go to die when they are no longer useful to toxic men. But no, anyways, we are here to talk about how we think that the current narrative being spouted by people who I have no positive opinions about, aside from their ability to hide their dick and balls in very short shorts, from the online right, the manosphere, whatever you may have it, we think that their ideas are kind of dumb and we disagree. We do this, at least I do, is because I don't want to live in a world where they get to define the idea of what being a man is, what masculinity is, because this group of people is made up of alleged sex criminals, weird dorks, hustle bros, and tech fascists. And the men I respect and know and love and have in my life, or have had in my life, that are like actual hardworking blue collar or otherwise men who are like exemplify what it is to be a man, would look at all these dweebs and not see men, but see just effete children walking around in daddy's shoes, playing at the idea of manhood instead of actually being a man. And so, our goal, at least from my side, is to stave off the seeding of the definition of manhood to these dork-ass losers, and to use whatever reach I have to elevate what others have to say, to mostly point out that there's no single one right way to be a man. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and that their way is particularly bad for everyone involved, especially to them. That's the other thing, is like, this is particularly hurtful to the people who engage in it. And ultimately, we'd like to provide a robust alternative to the ideas of the Andrew Tates, Joe Rogans, and Jordan B. Petersons of the world. I maybe should take Jordan B. Peterson out of that, because he is currently being like meat puppeted around by mold. So I don't know if you've heard about that, Erik.
I've missed it. You are
fascinating
more
thing.
in tune with.
Yeah, I am the one who's too online,
and I'm the one that's I've got all the on the ground experience with the younger demographic who we're talking to. You're the online
There's
voice.
Plenty of toxic dudes who are our age and older.
Oh yeah, but anybody that is joining, maybe for the first time, who's younger and maybe thinks that we are just, I know there's a lot of disdain for elder millennial liberals right now.
I would like
degenerates. I am a degenerate, both of us, but
I would like to make a correction for the record. I am not a liberal. I am slightly.
Oh God, he's a leftist.
I'm slightly to the left of Leon Trotsky.
Okay, yeah. Talk about
I
online.
would vote for fully automated gay space communism tomorrow if it was on the ballot.
Thanks, Redditor Jack. Okay,
you called me
leftist.
a horrible name. You besmirched my good image by calling me a liberal.
Well, fine. I'm a liberal. I'm a dirty centrist. So I voted for George W. Bush in 2004.
So did I.
Okay, well, so what I was, that actually gets to what I was saying, is like, you may see us as this, but look, we've lived our lives. We do have, find some of these traditional bro creds. We've got Jack was a Marine veteran of Afghanistan. I'm still in Iraq. And, I'm still out here playing rugby, not very well anymore. But look, like, you can still do these masculine things, but without being a grifter. I guarantee you most of those guys that are peddling this bullshit, Jack, like, we're not in Iraq or Afghanistan or
none of them have ridden Shahrood like I have.
Yeah.
None of them have ridden the oil worm of Iraq.
Iraq, yeah. Say so.
Which is what I call fucking in the back of the NRAP. No, actually, I didn't come out till well after I was out of the Marines. Yeah, that's the point. You may disagree with my politics, and frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. But my politics don't inform my idea of masculinity, and my idea of masculinity don't really inform my politics because they are separate aspects of things I believe about the world. And there are men who I think are absolutely wrong. It's that, like, Erik is just mostly wrong because he's a centrist, but there's people who are just absolutely wrong. Like there is nothing that we could agree about the way a country should work. But I'm like, but he's an all right guy. I respect him because he's like honest and he's dependable and he does what he says and he means what he says, and you can rely on him. He treats women and girls and kids and basically anyone who you could mistreat and have no consequence come back to you. He treats all those people well. He tips well. He's nice to wait staff. I just think that he's a fascist based on his voting. I know people like this and we're friends.
And I guess centrist means different things now these days. Like, now, hey, I am a champion of the working class. I may not look like it, but I am a steel country Democrat, so still not good enough for you. But continuing on.
If he got rid of all of the racism and the bigotry from like Eisenhower, it's like I'd vote for him. And we have to talk about Operation Wetback. The naming alone, like, come on, guy, we have problems with this. But I mean, when you look at his economic policies, like, oh, you make more money than your grandchildren will ever be able to spend. You can just give that all to the government, and we'll build a fuck ton of schools and give people health care. I'm fine with that because billionaires shouldn't exist. Anyways, this is not an economics podcast. This is a podcast about what it is and is not, in our opinion, to be masculine men, because we're men. We're men in tights. Today,
theoretically, we do talk about pretty much anything.
Actually, I don't like tights. When my pants I can feel my pants pantsing, I have to take them off. So I would not be able to wear tights at all. Last time we talked about what we do like about masculinity, the aspects of what we do. And then I thought that was going to take like way less time than it did, and added this huge second portion to the episode that we are now doing as its own thing, where today...
You still haven't learned on that one, Jack.
Did your homework, Erik. What are we talking about?
I actually did it last time. Well, we are talking about is in media today, aren't we? Like
good
representations.
Would
and one of mine actually is a leftist, so I won't get to that yet.
Okay.
But,
Would you like me to go first, or would you like to? Okay, cool. So I do not like most movies and television, but I love to read. I grew up on a farm with 3.5 TV channels.
Was one of those that scrambled? You're counting the scrambled adult TV channels?
It was no. It was broadcast, the rabbit ears, and 3.5 because if the clouds were in just the right spot, you could get Cincinnati.
Oh.
Yeah. And so also is an old tube TV that sometimes just didn't work unless you beat the shit out of it. But yeah, so I'm going to lead us off here. Because of this, I start with literature. And I say, Erik, that we should reject modernity and return to the tradition. And by that, I mean the 12 Labors of Heracles. In ancient Greek myth, he was like the original superhero of the day. It is a means of the way we look at it and the way they look at it isn't like we're like, oh, these are some neat stories about a long time ago. And to them, it was a way of communicating culture to each other. And so like this is one of the reasons I don't believe in any gods, but I particularly enjoy the Greek pantheon is because they're all aspects of people. And like Zeus is how he is because that is how fathers were seen to be in that culture to some degree or another, and leaders. And sometimes it's like, oh, Zeus is good, and other times like Zeus is a fuck, and he turned into a bird and raped somebody because he's a fuck. It's like sometimes dads are good and sometimes dads are bad. I'm not going to sit here and try to like hold someone from 3,000 years ago up and say this person was good or bad based on our understanding of like morality, because the world was very different. But that's to my understanding in my first time at college, where I was a very specialized type of history major, that like the way they transmitted how they thought the world is and should work was a lot through these stories. And there's also some really interesting stuff, how you can see over time the influence of of patriarchy on those cultures where the oldest stories of Medusa, she is not a tragic figure, but she is a heroic figure. Instead of being cursed by Athena, she was like, Athena's like, oh, that guy did you dirty, and I can't change the past, but tell you what, you can turn any man into stone if you don't like him fucking with you. Here's this wonderful gift. It was a means of defense, not a, hey, you got raped? Fuck you, bitch. Bam, curse. No, it was like, hey, here's this means of protection for yourself so you don't have to deal with these fucking men anymore. So anyways, I digress. Ancient Greek myth was a means of communicating culture and explaining life to the people of the Greek world, and their gods and the stories about them, those are not all like benevolent, all-knowing, all-controlling deities, but like allegories of human behavior. And Heracles was a douche and a half by modern standards. But for the time, he was like a kind, humble, almost like a wife guy. Back when we thought that was a good thing to be, apparently it's a bad thing to be. I don't know. I'm not that online. I'm not Twitter online. I'm Blue Sky online.
So that'd be
Blue
a
Sky
Twitter handle, Heracles the wife guy, right?
Yeah,
But anyways, continue.
Yes, that needs to be a thing. The TLDR of Heracles is that he had to do these 12 labors to atone for killing his family. He was cursed with a fit of rage by his mom, Hera, and he killed his family. And to atone for this, he had to perform these 12 labors. He fulfills these actions through his own like ingenuity as well as just like asking for help. Like more than once, he has to like go to a woman or a goddess and be like, yo, I fucked up when I was doing this. I didn't mean to do it this way, and I know it's harmed you. Please forgive me. And he had to do that not only just in order to succeed, but because like that's the nature of his character. He is like the ultimate man of manliness, but he is perfectly capable of saying, oh yeah, I messed up. Please forgive me for this because I really truly didn't mean to fuck with you. And during the course of those labors, he shows himself to be fair and just, and even in the face of injustice and unfairness that is set against him and others, he maintains this. And then after accidentally killing a man, he was sentenced to serve, I believe, his wife, Omphalia, the Queen of Lydia. Don't at me. I don't know how to say these names. They're long-timey, old-time names.
And there's multiple ways anyways. Like, but most of them are not agreed upon. Yeah, continue.
And keep in mind, he is her slave, her servant. He has no agency of his own. And during this time, he was forced to wear women's clothes and do women's chores, and like with all the other women servants for a year. And he did this so well that the queen was like super impressed with him and freed him and then married him. I guess this is, if nothing else, just goes to show that, femdom and sub relationships can become, loving, cherished things to the people who are involved in them. This guy who is like the ancient model of manliness, if you told any of these douchebags, hey, you did this, you wronged this person, so now you have to go be the slave to this woman and dress like a woman for a year and do all the women's work, which at the time was incredibly degrading. It was something that if you had done to you, you would never stop hearing about it. And this guy who is the model of masculinity is like, okay, and then he does it so well that the queen is like, yeah, I'm going to marry this guy. He is such a good woman. He clearly is the best man. Like, he's going to be mine. There's all kinds of stories about Heracles and other parts of the ancient Greek world where we are given view to a man that by the standards of the manosphere would be a woke cuck soy boy. Like, he's humble. He recognizes that he's wrong and seeks both forgiveness and to atone for his misdeeds. He even, like in case of Heracles, spends a year as a woman. And this man who is accountable for his actions, true to his word, and valorous in his spirit, he's actually doing manhood, like modern manhood, very well. Do you have any comments on Heracles?
So what I do think is interesting, what you touch on, like his judgment there. Well, first, let's back up because I'm kind of surprised you didn't mention Patroclus at all. Achilles.
Different thing.
Yeah, well, definitely a different thing, but he
different
would
Greeks.
Be kind of like seen as like the soy boy of the Iliad, but he was still, he was a warrior, and his death, like whether they were lovers or not, of course there's debate on that, but
no, there isn't. There's no debate. They were fucking like crazy.
I know. I was like, I think, yeah. So
they were,
but he tempered.
Have you seen the things this man did when Patroclus was murdered?
Well, I was about to say, so he tempered his rage during the time and was like, Achilles, you got to stay focused. But yes, the vengeance that was wrought upon
they're just friends.
Troy,
they're just very good friends. They were lifelong bachelors.
Yeah, grandpa's roommate.
Yeah.
If they lived to that.
Let me talk about my girl over here, Sappho, and her friend.
Back to Reddit too. Good sub. But the other thing was so like the judgment of Heracles and having to do those acts, right? I think what's interesting in like the in Greek judgment, right, and like how acts were viewed back then were really just by the act itself, right? So look at Oedipus. Didn't know what he was doing, but that happened, right? He broke the laws. Or you have Orestes, who, instead of killing his dad, killed his mom to avenge his dad and all of that. But regardless of their intention, it was the action itself. And so, Orestes in particular you get chased by the kindly ones, right? Do you know the kindly ones?
No.
Well, so I think this is where J.K. Rowling, I shouldn't have mentioned that name because I know you've got thoughts, got the idea for not saying Voldemort's name, but the Furies were referred to as, the kindly ones as a sort of like, bitches. Those bad bitches, like, don't get their attention. But, they pursued him because...
That's one of the things I love about when Christianity was new and people were still like, Greek gods might be the real gods. Like, if you look at the dichotomy between, no, you really want this Christian god's attention, and all the Greeks were like, are you fucking kidding me? Do you understand what a god is? You do not want these people fucking with your life. You want nothing to do with them. You do not invoke them. You praise them and hope that they don't even notice the praise.
You want these women on you, man? Like, flush me.
You do not want the gods to know anything about you. You do not want their favor. You do not want anything. You just want to go through life never having fucking interacted with a god. And the Christians are like, we'd eat the skin and drink the blood of our God, and then he lets us into paradise. And they're just like, will you get the fuck out of this bar?
Well, but there's also probably something to dig into, too, with, as you're saying about Medusa, is like, if you look at, judgment is wrought by women, and damage done to women is also heavily punished. Back then, there's probably a deeper thing to get into. But my point is like, look, hey, guys these days, even if your intention is to be, hey, I want to be, a masculine man, or a man that like, supportive, or I want to be this thing. And honestly, but your intentions behind that are good. You're right. Like, I want to make a woman happy, or I want to start a family. Like, if your actions still lead to harm or you being a dick, you still need to like face the music for that. Yep. And, the Greeks, hey, the kindly ones, just so I can like lay low, like I got enough problems, just said, hey, you did it. All right. So as I said at the beginning, this was singing from the animals, like your intentions, they don't matter. So see what you're actually like. You will be judged upon your actions by the world. So yeah, and you should be. So continue though. That was just I was like, let's do a little Greek detour, because maybe that we just have a whole Greek mythology episode, because I think there's a lot to unpack.
Oh God. Yes. And if this thing has legs, I would love to talk about masculinity in the ancient world, because it's absolutely fascinating to see what they thought was masculine versus what
Jack just likes the fucking.
I have nothing. I do.
Yeah. Anyways, on to the next.
So, bringing us to a more modern, though not the current day, Aragorn, son of Arathorn, chieftain of the Dunedain of the North, High King of Gondor and Aranor. During his youth, lived in the House of Elrond. If any of you kids are unfamiliar with this, or adults, or anyone, first, what's wrong with you? If you lived through the early 2000s and you didn't see The Lord of the Rings, what's wrong with you? Go buy the books, go to the library, go watch the movies. The books are a little bit better, but they're different. The movies aren't bad. The Hobbit can be just completely ignored, both in the book and the movie form.
Read it to your children. It's meant as a children's book.
Yeah. And they are totally very different. They weren't originally supposed to be the same story to this star. But
3 hours later, so the Eagles continue.
Yeah. When Tolkien ever writes himself to in a corner, those goddamn eagles show up. Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. In his youth, he was sent to live with Elrond, where in the last homely house in Rivendell. And there he met and fell in love with Arwen, who was Elrond's daughter. Later,
Liv Tyler.
Yes. Later, he gave her the sole heirloom he possessed of his house, the Ring of Barahir. And he is the descendant of this long, long line of kings who used to rule the entire human world. And 3,000 years ago, that was ended for him and his family. And the only thing he has left is this ring, his very precious ring. And she pledged him her hand and to renounce her elvish lineage and accept the gift of Iluvatar, which is immortal death and passing beyond the halls of Mandos, which elves, when they die, their spirits go back to Valinor, but they don't leave that. Humans, when they die, their spirits go to Valinor and then they pass beyond it, and only they know what happens beyond that. The elves can be reborn, though it's not common, but it happens. And so it was like a big fucking deal for her and for her family to be like, no, I'm going to give up being an elf. I'm going to become human and give up the grace of the Valar and everything else that is my birthright to be with this man. And of course, being the highborn daughter of an elf lord, she has Aragorn. They can't just like run off and get hitched. Like Aragorn has to ask permission from her dad, and Elrond's like, no, I'm not blessing this marriage until you, Aragorn, son of Arathorn, are the king of the reunited kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor.
Why don't you go make something of yourself, boy?
Yeah, which is basically like saying, no, you cannot marry my daughter until you go and recreate the Roman Empire. You go ahead and go recreate it. I don't want this East-West bullshit. I want the whole goddamn thing. I want it at the height of the Pax Romana. Go do that. And then you can marry my daughter. And so this set about the events that led Aragorn to taking up the quest of the Fellowship of the Ring. During that time, he showed himself to be an inspiring leader, a heroic warrior, a wise counselor, and quite able frontiersman. And he was also a kind, forgiving kinsman. He guides the Fellowship after Gandalf's fall when he fought the Balrog in Moria. He leads the hunt to rescue Merry and Pippin, and he aided in defense of Helm's Deep. He marshaled the dead men of Dunharrow who were pledged to serve his ancestor, and defeated the Corsairs of Umbar. And he also aided in the defeat of Sauron's army at the Battle of Pelennor Fields, and then aided in the healing of Faramir, Eowyn, and Merry, and then also led the host of the West at the Battle of Morgannon, which during that time the Ring of Power was destroyed. He didn't destroy it, but he was leading the army that distracted Sauron and his forces so that Mordor was basically empty and they could walk up to the middle of it and throw the ring into the fire of the Mount Doom. And then, of course, he was crowned High King of Arnor and Gondor on May the 1st of 3019 of the Third Age. And upon fulfillment of Elrond's requirements, he was permitted to marry Arwen and reigned as king, and she is queen for 123 years until his death in the Fourth Age, year 120. So through these events, Aragorn displayed moral and ethical courage. He takes the path of righteousness over the path of ease. He defends those who are in harm's way. He helps those who are in need. He shows himself to be honest and just. He earns the love of his people and of basically all the races of Middle-earth through his goodness and his humanity. He does not disparage those of lesser blood and birth. He acts with fairness and to those in his service and his debt. He doesn't seek to rule over others, but instead earns the trust of those who must live under his protection as king. He frees slaves and gives them their former master's country as their home. He officially recognized the Shire and established it as the sole property of the hobbits where no men, even himself, may enter. He was very much the man that Isildur was not. And in that he is kind of the best of humanity. The thing that I always found the most interesting about his character is that Boromir does not like Aragorn at all until the very end of his life, because he sees him as so Boromir's family, House of the Stewards, they've been watching the throne basically for 3,000 years and is these kings aren't coming back. This really should be ours because we've been doing the fucking job, right? And so here's this guy, this raggedy dude who's looks like a crust punk out of the north, who's basically homeless, who's running around, and he just happens to be an amazing swordsman and horseman and all this stuff. And Boromir just fucking hates him. Doesn't see anything about him as being worthy of lordship. And just through watching him and his actions, he wins Boromir over. And then when he's as Boromir struck down and Aragorn finds him and comforts him in his death, Boromir gives him his bracers. I forget exactly. They are a very specific piece of honor of armor.
Guard the wrists.
Yeah, well, no. These in particular.
Oh, his type of
item. Yeah. They are very specific bracers that are that symbolize his station in his house and his they are for the leaders of that country. And they're
wasn't he the heir of Gondor? Because Faramir was still there. Wasn't Boromir the eldest son of Denethor?
Yeah.
See, I can do this too. I've been letting you go on, but
yeah. So Boromir's the oldest son of Denethor of the line of the stewards, but like it's not.
Oh, steward. Denethor is the steward. Yeah.
So he's not like the bracers weren't like the property of the royal household. It was basically, this is the person who leads the army or something like that. Very exactly what they were, but they were like very symbolic, and they were a treasure of the kingdom. And his death, Boromir's like, you should wear these. You've earned them. My captain, my king, all that. And it's like, it's not through anything other than his own actions that Boromir is won over. Someone who he just despises for most of his time knowing him, and then he comes to like really respect and honor and revere the man. And then even after his death, he made sure that Boromir received like the proper funeral honors and all that stuff. Like, he's just a good dude. Do you have anything about our?
Oh, if you're changing to another media, I was just going to say
another book,
Lord of the Rings, real quick. So I am glad though that you mentioned stuff he did after Kingship, because for a while the original framing of that kind of sounded like he did all of that just to get laid. But
I think they kind of fucked and did fuck. It was like he wanted
to
wanted to marry her and spend his life, And
okay, then yes, I just wanted to clarify.
Unfortunately,
that.
Tolkien was very very light on the sexual mores and rules for the Middle Earth. But I assume it was okay and that they did fuck.
Yeah, I bet Tolkien, he had to visit some of those basement French brothels and Ivres and stuff back in the day. So, it was just implied.
A more modern example, going off script. I'm going off script. I'm not reading the teleprompter. This is my first Trump impression. I don't know. What do you think, Eric? Do you think I can do Trump?
Yeah, I was going to do it back,
people say it's very good. They like the Trump impressions.
It was okay, Jack. I have to be like in the right. I'm good at impressions, but right now,
I just heard Ed Zitron do Joe Biden, and I think he slipped into being Joe Biden coherently for longer than Joe Biden has slipped into being Joe Biden coherently for the last decade. It was amazing. It was on an episode of Trash Future. So The Expanse, oddly enough, Holden is like, his character is very interesting. I really enjoy it. He's annoying as shit sometimes, but he's often like, he is annoying to power in the ways I appreciate, but he's also like a little bit too much of a do-gooder for me. Personally, I'm an Amos kind of guy, but he is very much like the way he lives and portrays his masculinity. Like, he's not the biggest guy. He's not the smartest guy. He's not the toughest guy. He is the guy who's most willing to do the right thing, regardless of if it affects him negatively or not. He's willing to put himself on the line time and time again to make sure that not necessarily even the best thing for him happens, but the right thing in terms of how we would view right and wrong and morality and manhood in a valorous light is carried out. So very, very big fan of James Holden's character. And of course, Amos Burton, because not anymore, but at a certain time in my life, I was a little bit of that guy. Not quite that guy, but a little bit of that guy. Moving over to cinema, and I picked this one specifically because I really just hate the claim that there's no good examples in children's media of what good manhood is, because the movie Lightyear is right fucking there. Like Buzz Lightyear, he has to do, he's not necessarily like toxic male masculinity, but he's very like, he has to do it his way, and he's the one who's right, and he's very, for the manosphere definition of toxic masculinity he took over, he's more of what you might see in like the 90s of like a man who never asks for directions, like what we would have defined it back then, but he, through the course of the movie, he comes to terms with his failures, and that the fact that he cannot rely on just himself, that he in fact is part of a team and needs to be that way, behave that way, and function that way, and that he has to go through a huge effort to set things right, and through that grows as a person. And he starts off as cocky and arrogant, but in time he learns from his failures, accepts where he's wrong, learns to accept the help from others that he needs to get over himself. And in some cases, like where people are just more skilled than he is, he needs to let them do the things that they are better than him at. And it's just a fantastic movie. Thoroughly enjoyed it, especially as a kid who was raised on Toy Story. I was like, this is the movie I wanted to see when I was 10. So going back to Disney, in Lion King, both Mufasa and Simba, fantastic examples of masculinity. There's even the scene where Simba he's like, I'm going to perform what I think masculinity is, which is going off and doing this dangerous, brash thing. And Mufasa, as he scolded him, was like, no, dumbass kid, I'm only brave when I have to be. You could have died, and that would have been horrible for me and you and everyone who cares about you. You don't do this reckless shit, because that is not all there is to being king or being a man. You need to like think about your actions and how they affect people and how they affect you. And you need to, take the right action at the right time. And the right action isn't always to go looking for a fight. It was just fantastic example of both good parenting and good, positive, valorous masculinity.
There was still that part of him, that did have a bit of a like, all right, the kids got it, but we have to control this. So there was, it was misguided. It was, Simba had the stuff, right? But it just had to be guided in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving over to TV, Ted Lasso. Easy. Ted leads by example. He not only promotes, but proves through his actions why kindness, respect, and caring for others is better than ego, brash rudeness, or reckless action. And then especially, I love Roy Kent. He's there, he's every fucking where. Roy Kent. Roy learns to accept he has limits and that he is also human, basically, and that has emotions, and he learns to have to deal with those. And he, through that, learns to be a leader that inspires people rather than incites fear, which he's at the beginning is like, I don't want Roy to be mad at me, so I'm going to do this. And at the end, it's like, I want, to be like Roy, so I'm going to do this. And he grows so much as a person while coaching. And there's one particular scene in the last season or the second to last season where he defends the morally correct but legally actionable behavior of one of his soccer players or football players. And it's like, yeah, this is who we should all be. This is a man's man. This is the guy we should all aspire to be. Because through that whole scene, he talks about how he used to be a brash, rude fuck. And then he got the shit beaten out of him. And then later he found out that the reason he got the shit beaten out of him is because the thing he was talking about was very sore, touchy subject. And, that uses that as an example of like, no, I'm not going to, we're all dealing with things that no one knows anything about. And I'm not going to sit here and say that this person did something wrong because he was morally correct. And I don't care about the legal consequences. And in music, here recently, as a teenager, I loved the Dropkick Murphys and I stopped listening to them. And I didn't know they were still a band until the Dropkick Murphys.
Oh, Johnny. Oh, well, yeah, everybody likes
and until recently, when there have been very vocally anti-fascist, I'm like, the boys.
Yeah, but they were always kind of that, like, yeah.
Well, when you're a 20-year-old guy from middle of nowhere, Indiana, who brought up in a very Republican way of being.
Yeah, you're like, it sounds like fighting music. That's actually my cell phone ringer. Yeah, shipping it to Boston. That and Flogging Molly really had their moment back.
Yes. Yeah.
Mid 2000s.
And so like coming to know them now as an adult, it's like, oh, these songs do mean something very different, but also like these guys are stand-up guys. One of the lead singer from Dropkick Murphys, he had a quote I liked back then. And I still like it. It's something along the lines of like, you have to set an example, because if you're like just sitting there in the gutter, no one's going to listen to you, but if you pull yourself up and like do good for yourself, regardless of your station in life, you set, the bar for other people to follow, people will see that. And they'll respect you for it. And it was just like, yeah, this guy's solid. And lastly, rounding it out, in games, God of War Ragnarok, the 2019 God of War, not the old one. Kratos' character, his story arc has him learn to be a good father, a good man, a good person. He like constantly seeks to protect and raise his son while living through the events that are, the end of the world in Norse myth, in Ragnarok. And it's just really interesting to see him go from being the character in the old games, like when you and I were kids, to being this like guy who's now has a kid and has to teach this kid. Like when I was a young man, I had, little button time games for me to get more health points from banging chicks in the secret room of a Greek temple. And now I have to teach this boy how to like chop wood. So it's like, it's really interesting.
We weren't that young when the first one came out.
We were I was like a freshman in high school. It was a PS2 game.
Really? Oh, maybe. I'll put those together. Anyways.
Freshman or sophomore. But yeah, so like the character arc, especially to have played all those back then and play them now, it's like really interesting to see how they like took him, matured him, and like had him go through this thing where like he learns, especially in those two games, his character develops insanely from being this like me big man, me hit things hard with sword, that good, to being like, you know, maybe problems can be solved in ways other than having to kill everything, and maybe my son doesn't have to do the things that I did, and maybe I can like teach him to be himself and his best self, and to do that I have to learn all those things about me as well. And it's just really good games. Really enjoyed them.
That kind of reminds me of, you know, plus like with the development teams changing over time, is like that actually just kind of sounds like the late 90s, early 2000s too. And today, you know, if you've got these people kind of wanting to go back to this more very male privileged, very hetero privileged like time and place, which is, you know, again, they may think that we're these elder leftist liberal like dudes, but it's like we grew up in that. Like, and maybe there's a reason why we're like, oh, you know,
I don't have a problem with those games
okay.
existing. Like, it's perfectly fine. Play the games you want to play. I just find the game to be much more rewarding personally when there is growth in the character.
Well, I'm just saying it's a reflection of society, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm saying like people, you know, think that they want to, oh, okay, yeah, it should be a hetero male world. It's like, we grew up in that world.
Man,
and you get,
so like
people
the
think
stuff
we're
that
these,
annoys
like,
me so much, so much about all the stuff today is like, do you know how long and hard like we as a society worked to get to where we are, and like, and just you burn it down in the course of just a few years because you're a dumb dork who can't talk to a girl because you spend all your time jerking off on your phone? Like, that's a you problem, not a me problem, guy. Like, you can go out and make yourself better. You don't need to burn the world down because you're a loser. And I'm sorry that you are this way. I truly am. But the way you're trying to fix it is only going to piss everyone else off.
Also,
and it's going to engender the attitude that I have towards you that Eric doesn't like when I say these things, because he's like, you're going to make them not want to listen. But I'm just talking to you. I'm treating you as a man, which is I'm telling you what I think about you and I'm being honest. And if you don't like that, I'm sorry you can't be spoken to like an adult and like a man. I'm sorry I have to coddle you and treat you like a child. But like we did so much grow, like it's very frustrating. It's just very frustrating, especially to now be raising a daughter in, because it was like, you know, this is actually like, I wouldn't have wanted to raise a daughter when I was a teenager, like in those years. But we'd finally reached a time where I'm like, it's not great. It's not perfect. There's still a lot of shitty things, but I can raise my daughter to be anything at this point. And have plenty of examples of like good, strong, morally upright, ethically upright women that have done amazing things. And there's even men who like, okay, well, I'm, you know, maybe they have some work to do on themselves. Who doesn't? But like, you know, when she's old enough to date, if she wants to date men, you know, I don't have to have any of the worries that like my own dad had about his daughter's dating 30 years ago, how men treated women then. And it's to see such a vocal rejection of all of that, and then an embracing of, oh no, we think it's perfectly fine for women to do nothing more than be domestic baby factories that don't get too mouthy. And it's like, no, fuck you. with an iron rod, maybe a chainsaw, but fuck you. And no, I'm just not going to comply. You can't make me. But sorry, go ahead.
Even no, I was just say, even just in the context of men alone, like, you know, it's like there's an idealized view of what that world was and everything, but it was also for a hetero white dude, like a pretty brutal time. That,
oh yeah,
you know, we're still unpacking like the fucked up damage from that. And I played sports. We weren't like, you know.
Yeah. All the body dysmorphia that you see very publicly now through people like clavicular and these weird people who are beating themselves in the face with hammers for reasons I don't understand, because the internet is terrible. But like all this body dysmorphia that you're seeing through these, not just clavicular and the looks maxing weirdos. I don't say that to be mean, guys. It's just kind of fucking weird. You don't have to beat yourself in the face with a hammer. It's how it is. Anyways,
But shows are
but also
performative. Yeah.
more, but even more so, like the people in the gym, like the number of people who are getting their gains through a needle is insane to me. Because like me personally, I came up at a time and a place where it's like, well, those aren't your gains because you got them through a needle. So lift all you want, be as big as you want, but I'm not impressed because again, they came from the needle. And it's just the intense necessity that young men feel to have a physique that is A, remarkably unnatural for the human body, and B, remarkably unhealthy to maintain. It's just nuts to me because it's like this stuff all existed when we were younger, but it wasn't this intense, but it wasn't as open. Like I've had body dysmorphia issues for 20 years because I was never skinny enough for the Marines, and I was never skinny
forever.
And I was never skinny enough for my very judgmental grandmother, who always commented on my weight, and so it was just like I've always been very self-conscious about it. The thing that snapped me out of it was when my daughter was old enough to when her personality was starting to develop, because like for a little bit, babies are just little balls of drool and snot that like giggle occasionally, but you're like, are you laughing or is it gas? But like the first time she realized that she could like use my stomach as a bongo and it like jiggled and she liked the way it felt, I was like, well, I don't care about this anymore because my daughter thinks it's fun and funny. So people can say whatever they want and feel however they want. My daughter likes this, so I have no reason to dislike it. So, but yeah.
And and I mean, I was say too is the thing is it just shows how surface level this all is though, and that the fact that they like the appearance of how things were back then, right? Because here's the thing, like, so now all this, they're focused on their looks, maxing, all that stuff, right? That's looks, that's appearance. Back in our day, yeah, there were still body insecurities and stuff. There wasn't all of this, but you know what was real is you had to fucking fight. Like that's the thing.
Fuck
like,
yeah!
These days aren't been near as many fights.
I got
as, like,
real good
did.
at running because I don't like getting hit. Yeah. I'm a big guy,
so,
but this I can move. I can fucking move because I talk so much shit that I am not ready to back up almost all the time. Like if we're gonna have to fight about this, I'll just keep my mouth shut. I'll keep my opinions to myself just because I think it's dumb and I'm not going to fight somebody. Like we disagree and I think you're a bitch, but whatever. Like you can think you're not a bitch and we go about our lives. Oh, you're going to hit me in the face for saying this? It's not going to stop me from thinking it. I just won't say it out loud. And
you didn't have to hit yourself in the face with a hammer because somebody was going to fucking do it for you if you learned to run your mouth. But that is how we learned, I think, to like watch what you say because, you know, maybe this is a controversial one to you, Jack, but I think not enough men these days have been punched in the mouth.
Oh my God, no.
And I think it is like everybody needs to be punched in the mouth.
I have to be careful about how I say this and how it's received, but there is a severe lack of bullying that should have occurred for most of these people. Like you should have been stuffed. If Sam Altman had been stuffed in a locker just a few times, we wouldn't have to put up with Clammy Sammy and his dumb AI bullshit. You know, if Mark Andreessen had been told just a few more times that he is the most butt plug shaped human to exist, we wouldn't have to put up with a lot of the shitty stuff in the tech world. If Clavicular had been beaten in the face with a hammer by someone else for reasons other than giving him the jawline he thinks he needs to do his weird bro phrenology, we wouldn't have the looks maxing stuff. Like, there's just a little bit like
too much. There's either too far or not enough.
Yeah, there's a happy medium of bullying that I'm advocating for. Like, not so much that you kill yourself, but enough that you learn that, no, I can't say these weird fucking things to people because it's weird and I should become different.
That's
and
like it's some merch, the happy median of bullying. But
yes, it's like the Balmer Peak, but for bullying. There's a very fine line that you ride. You drink just the right amount and you are a coding god. You bully someone just the right amount and they come out Aragorn, son of Arathorn, king of the United Kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor. You don't bully them enough or you bully them too much, you get Melkor. You get Morgoth. You get the one who wanted to sing his own verse in the choir that sang humanity and all of existence and creation into being.
I see you talking about this and then having to run back then.
Yeah. You know, I got bullied for a lot of reasons, mostly for being a huge fucking nerd, right? Like that's one of the things I really don't think people will get about how it was. Like, oh, No,
all these guys like playing D&D now. Hey, guess what? You couldn't fucking do it back then.
Oh my God. It was like the last week I was in boot camp that someone found out that I played D&D in high school. And for the last week of boot camp, I did not hear the end of it about how much of a gay virgin I was for playing D&D. Or like liking Star Wars. I got like physically beaten up more than once for like liking nerdy stuff.
Superheroes, Marvel, any of this stuff. So Marvel, it's like, they want their cake and eat it too, right? Like, it's like you don't want to go back to those times.
You want to go back to this time. Cool. I am going to mercilessly harass you constantly every moment that I see you. And if you try to do something about it, I'm just going to hit you until you run away because of something that affects me, not in the slightest, other than that I know you like this thing. Like you like to read these nerdy books. It's
worse because they might get filmed like doing something creepy and get called a creep online. So
people that you never know and will never meet will make fun of you, and they will say things that you will never hear about you, and this affects you in some way. I don't understand it.
Or just get jumped in the parking lot every day.
Cool. He's going to get his bike, and he's a Star Wars nerd. Go beat the shit out of him right now.
And steal the bike. Chase
him on his bike in my truck, thinking that I'm going to run him over. And I might, just because he likes nerdy shit. Like, that was a reality.
Well, I did driven on by a cop once because I missed there were a lot of signs of the ADD that just went unnoticed, but didn't notice, like, this was fifth grade, right? It was fifth grade. The last day. Kids weren't supposed to walk to school or like ride their bike because that's traditionally when the sixth graders showed up and kicked their ass. And the town just kind of went with this to like, well, you just don't ride your bike or walk.
It was like it's like Dazed and Confused with the paddles. They're like, oh yeah, he's a freshman. He's over there. Go beat the fuck out of that guy during lunch because he's a freshman. He had the audacity to matriculate up from the 8th grade.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, but everyone's like, well, okay, I think maybe instead of doing something about this, we just,
you just heard No More Mr. Nice Guy playing in your head.
Because my mom freaks out when I show up in the back of a cop car at like 1995.
If I ever got called over and my daughter was sitting on the back of a cop car, I'm like, my sun and stars, my beautiful, wonderful daughter. What amazing thing did you do?
So proud.
Buddy, are kind of.
Let's take a pause because it's worth. Yeah, I still have mine. Mine are a lot shorter, but we're already an hour and 5 minutes.
All right, cool. Thanks, buddy.
See you, brother. Good one. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Annoyed Masculinity. This has been an Annoyed Media production. Thoughts and ideas expressed during this episode should not be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. We are not therapists. We are just two guys bullshitting on the internet. Our opinions do not reflect the official positions or ideas of our employers or business partners. You can find more of our work on Substack, Instagram, and Blue Sky under @AnnoyedMasculinity. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember to be awesome to one another.